back today and I have more Gibsons with me. So, I'm holding a couple of Gibsons which I feel do not get talked about enough. We all know about the Les Paul standard range. You got the 50s, you got the 60s, you got the Deluxe 70s, you got the P90, and then you have the quote unquote more affordable Gibson guitars such as the Les Paul Special, the Junior, the Studio Modern, Studio Session, Studio Modern Light. But I feel there is a range in between that people just don't talk about, which is the Les Paul standard faded series. And the price point of these guitars are quite interesting because to me these are your so-called entry level Les Paul standards. So most people would say that hey, you can still get a Les Paul under under a certain price range, which it would be the Studio, Specials, Junior, but for some people that is still not the quintessential Les Paul experience. And a regular Les Paul standard will set you way above the budget of the other guitars that I mentioned previously. But the faded sits right in between, the regular standard guitars and with the rest of, non-standard guitars. And the differences are very little. So the faded series was around all this while, but it looked a little ugly because they used open coil pickups. So they're not chrome covered. But the new faded series now, they have these chrome covers, makes it look a bit more sleek, a bit more proper in my opinion, as opposed to the double black open coil pickups. And I have here a 50s and a 60s Les Paul faded. Each of them come in two colors. So this is the 50s that I'm holding, which is a tobacco burst, which also comes in a vintage honeyburst color. And then you have the 60s, which is here on my right. And this one is in a vintage cherry sunburst. It also comes in a bourbon burst. The difference between the two, other than that, is besides having all your regular specs, mahogany neck, mahogany body, you got your maple top, 22 frets, 4 control layout, etc., etc. The rest are mainly cosmetic and pickup differences. So on the headstock, with the 60s, you will have your Grover tuners, and then with your 50s, you have the vintage style Cluson tuners. And with the 50s, you have a thicker neck, a more 50s vintage neck, and then you have a slim taper with the 60s model. They are all fully satin finish, so that's one of the biggest difference between the regular Les Paul standard range and this faded range. And finally, oh yeah, another cosmetic difference is the knobs. Small thing, you can easily swap that out. So with the 50s, you have your gold top hat knobs, and then you have the reflector knobs on the 60s. But the biggest difference between the two will be the pickups. So with the 50s model, you have a burst bucker 1 and 2. And with the 60s model, you have a 60s burst bucker. So today I figured out that we would just fool around with the guitars, and I'll just play through each of them one at a time, beginning with the Les Paul standard faded 50s guitar. And my signal chain is the guitar going directly into the front end of a Hughes and Kettner Tubemeister Deluxe 20, going into an orange 2-watt vertical camera, being mic'd up by two SM57s with the Fredman mic technique. And there is a little reverb in the effects loop because the reverb makes me happy. So here I'm holding the 50s model. Let's check out the clean tones. I'm now on the neck pickup. Everything's fully cranked. And here how that's can't talk. And here's how that sounds. Beautiful sounding. The guitar resonates really nicely. I guess with the whole satin nitro finish, it breathes a little more, resonates just a little more. And here is the middle position. And finally, bridge humbucker. So that's the standard 50s in the clean setting. I'm going to quickly swap to the 60s model so we can just have a direct comparison of the clean tones. So let's quickly get back to the clean sound, neck pickup. Very close sounding, but I feel that the 50s has a bit more of a low end bloom compared to the 60s model. Now to the middle pickup. And finally, the bridge pickup. So those are the clean tones on both guitars. I find the 60s a little tighter, perhaps a little brighter, but let's find out through the crunch channel now. I'm going to remain on the 60s guitar. We're going to do some chuggers and hear the tone difference. Middle position. So that's the 60s. Let's quickly swap over to the 50s now. Do the same thing, similar thing. Chugga, wugga, wugga, chugga. Oh yeah, another thing I should mention, right? The guitars don't feel too heavy. So there's no weight relief in these guitars, but they have a really good lightweight feel to it. Anyway, here's the 50s in the bridge pickup. 60s a little tighter, a little brighter, just a tad. I feel there's a little bit more bloom in the 50s, but anyway, middle pickup position. Neck pickup. Yeah, a little more bloom with the neck pickup, especially on the 50s. Now, one last thing, I'm going to start rolling back the volume pot on the neck pickup in here, how that cleans up in comparison to the neck pickup on the 60s model. So here it is, full crank. So that's how that cleans up. And finally, I want to hear how the 60s model sounds when you start rolling back the volume pot. So here's the neck pickup all the way up. So there you go, with the more tighter sounding neck pickup, perhaps it cleans up a little better, but there's nothing you can't adjust on the 50s by maybe tweaking the pickup height or adjusting the gain levels of your amp. So there you go, that is the Gibson Les Paul Standard Faded Series. I feel it is an absolute value for money for someone who perhaps is a little out of reach with their budget on the regular Les Paul Standard guitars, but they do not want to own a special, a junior, a Les Paul Studio. It's not their cup of tea. This is the perfect series for you to get in touch with and get the quintessential Les Paul experience. So there you go. Give us a thumbs up, enjoy the video, and leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it. Share with your friends, your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!